We'll continue our therapies here. No, when we talked about cognitive therapy, Aaron Beck has nothing to do with Beck beer. That's their irrational belief. But in times like this, you may need a Beck beer. I don't know. Okay, that's good beer. But anyway, we're going to talk about behavioral therapy. And behavioral therapy is kind of unique in the sense that doesn't have to be any relationship between client and a therapist. Many times, at state hospital, they're using behavior modification on the client, and the client doesn't even know that they're doing it. So, in behavioral therapy, they want to change behavior. That's it. They don't care. They don't need any empathy. They don't need any relationship. We got this behavior. This is a bad behavior. We're going to make it a good behavior. And they believe that good behaviors are learned, but bad behaviors are learned. So we're going to unlearn those bad behaviors and replace them with good behaviors. So, of course, we have a name, and the name, excuse me, is B.F. Skinner. And what is the goal? Replace, excuse me, bad behavior with good behaviors. And what are the methods of those goals? Well, we're going to talk about four of them very quickly. One is behavior modification or shaping, where you reinforce some really small steps until you get to the final result. Well, at the state hospital, there was somebody there that had could not speak, and so they reinforced weird sounds and grunts. Then when they got the grunts, they started reinforcing vowel sounds and consonant sounds, then little words and big words and sentences and so forth. So they reinforced every step closer to the final goal. That's behavior modification or shaping. The second thing is aversive stimuli, and that is where you use some kind of aversive stimuli to stop. For instance, like some people smoke, they have a rubber band and they snap it every time they feel like smoking, and the pain stops them from supposedly from doing the behavior. Electric shock, like a dog fence, right? The fake fence, you can't see him. The dog runs there and he's got an electric collar and he gets shocked. That's aversive stimuli, conditioning. Because he says, I know, I go to the end of the yard, I'm going to get shocked. I'm not going to do it. The other method is a token economy, and token economy is used in the state hospitals and the prison and stuff, where they give you tokens for good behavior. So you take your meds, you don't bite your nurse, you make your bed. Then they give you a token which you can take to the cafeteria. They used to be able to give you peanut butter sandwiches, but a client died with a peanut butter sandwich. And so I guess government peanut butter is thicker than normal peanut butter. I don't know. And they used to do cigarettes, but of course that stopped doing that. So a token economy is give people tokens. So like a coupon to a restaurant. I got to let the dog down. To a restaurant, for a pizza or something, is considered a token. And we get that on credit cards, right? If you use a certain credit card, you get so many miles on an airplane, whatever. Well, you can't fly in that place any now, but still, you know what I'm talking about. And the last one is counter conditioning. And there's four counter conditionings, but we're only going to talk about two. One is systematic desensitization, where usually with phobias, where you slowly get them faced to phobia. For instance, I work with a psychologist in Miami, a psychiatrist, and then this is years ago now, and obviously, and people had a terrible fear of flying. They didn't have Skype or Zoom or FaceTime or any of that kind of stuff. So if you had a destination wedding, you had to get there, and so we used to go and to the person's house, and you put them in his favorite chair, and the doctor would talk to him about flying. And I had this little chart, anxiety chart. You kind of saw some of that when I gave anxiety things to you in class. And I would mark them. And once I got to a certain point, I would kind of wink or give them a signal, and we would stop. And then we'd talk about relaxation techniques or something more positive. Then, if they could get through that, then he would show pictures of people flying and on airplanes and stuff like that. And then if they could get through that, we would show slides. And this is before we had DVDs and stuff like that. And then if they could get through that, then we'd show a movie of people flying. And then if they could do that, we would drive around the airport. One plus of Miami is the airport's actually in Miami, not like Kansas City Airport, which is on out in Iowa someplace, and then we would drive through the airport, which you could do now before 9/11, and then if they could still not get too upset with that, then the next stage, what I hated, was we would take the client and in a van type thing, and we would sit there and watch the planes land and take off. It's a state park. Oh, and it's beautiful when, in the nighttime when the planes come in and there's lights and you can see the backdrop of Miami. But of course, that's where all the high school, college kids would go to do make out and do other things. So you would see like 20,000 cars and no heads, and but you would see us too, and people walk by. What's going on there? But once we got past that, then they would walk them through the airport, which is a great way to learn Spanish, and then up to the counter, and then to the gate, and then he would walk on the tarmac. Remember, this is before 9/11. And then he would rent a plane, and if they could do that without getting too upset, they had the plane. You would sit there, and flight attendants would come and serve you, and talk to you and stuff. And then he rented a simulator. Now, I know simulators for training pilots for when things go wrong, but it's also you can land and take off. And if they can do all those steps and not get a certain score on the anxiety scale, then we would send them off to wherever they were going. Of course, we always gave them some Valium in case they freaked out. But that's systematic desensitization. But the other end of that is flooding. And flooding is where you don't have time to do that. Is you have somebody who's scared of water, you throw them in the middle of the lake and say, "I'll see you at the shore." Or if a person's there's a psychologist in Kansas City that worked with phobias that had some lady who was scared of snakes. So he stuck her in a closet full of snakes. Well, these are friendly, loving snakes, but I mean, you either freak out or you get over it. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan like I am, you remember when Yoda was dying, he sent Luke Skywalker into the cave to face his fear. That was flooding. So those are the four techniques. Now for the Coleman, the rest of the way, individual group, it's individual because each person has different set of behaviors that need to be changed. Cognitive change, behavioral change, oh my God, we're just all behavior. All we want to do is change behavior. Directive or non-directive, very directive because the psychologist is determining what method of behavior modification they're going to use. Long-term or short-term? Good test question because it's short-term. Oh my God, days, hours. I'll give you a great example of that. When I was getting my counseling degree, my minor to my ed psych degree, you had to do 6 out of 8 internships, and I told you I did state hospital for one. I worked at a crisis center for one, and a few other things. I work with autistic kids. When I discovered that I don't have the patience to work with autistic kids, but anyway, we had 3 autistic kids we were working with, very severe autistic kids, and the psychologist said, I got to go someplace. I'll be back in about 35, 40 minutes. Julian, you take over, not because I was any good at it, but because I was the oldest, seniority. And then all of a sudden we had one kid start banging his head against the wall. And if you anything know about autistic kids, the other kids will model that behavior. So the other 2 students said, because we each had 1 student per child, he said, "What should we do, Julian? What we do?" And I had 2 thoughts. One, I could call the athletic department, and they were very, very good setting us over a special helmet, especially the quarterback helmet had more padding, so the kids could bang their heads against the wall they wanted, they wouldn't get hurt. But we were scared we might hurt the wall. So I rushed over to the animal science department, which is right next to the psych building, got a cattle prod, and put it on low, and every time the kid banged his head against the wall, I gave him electric shock, aversive stimuli, conditioning. Oh my God, in less than a minute, no more banging. Boy, did I get in trouble. I thought I was saving the kid's life, but no, you're not supposed to do that. But anyway, that's the idea, because after a few seconds, well, less than a minute or 2, behavior solved. And then past, present, or future, it's definitely present because, you're talking about that behavior at that moment in time. So that's behaviorism. And again, it is one of the biggest ones. Now, in the textbook, it says the best type of counseling is behaviorism. That is true, That is true, but that's for phobias or schizophrenia. And I'm going to ask you both those questions. What is the best form of therapy? You're going to put, because of Coleman, none. They're all about the same. But when I asked you about what's the best one for schizophrenia, you're going to write behaviorism. Don't confuse those, because then you'll lose 2 points and you lose an extra credit point. So you don't want to do that. All right. You guys take care, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.